Hi, Melissa Bill, and welcome to the Business Roundup, where we catch up with the movers and shakers in the business world. Today, joining me is Emmy-winning industry veteran Sherry Gunther Shugerman and co-CEO Andrew Pelekis, both of them leads in the new HeeBoo. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having
Yeah.
us, Melissa.
Yeah, this was a very cool. I mean, I like all the shows that, that you've been behind, and it's just pretty cool. I've been doing some reading on it, and I can't wait to kind of dive into it. But before we start off, do you mind like just giving a little bit about your individual backgrounds?
Sure. I'll start since we talked about shows, I guess. I have been in the entertainment industry for a long time. Started very, very young. I've been the producer. I was the original producer for The Simpsons, Family Guy, Rugrats. I've also headed up multiple studios and production divisions for some of the biggest media companies. So I was head of Klasky Chupo, which is the company that did Rugrats and Simpsons and Duckman and many more, for about 6 years. And then I was also the head of Hanna-Barbera during the Turner era, where we launched the Cartoon Network with Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, I Am Weasel, and started Fox's first in-house animation studio with Family Guy. There's now being used for all their adult animation. Did a stint at Warner Brothers with Looney Tunes and many, many others. But I've also started up companies in the kids online virtual world space, as well as a toy company around a brand of dolls called the Beatrix Girls that I created at the time with digital first. And very early on, it was 2011 for digital first as a YouTube shorts and music, and eventually sold all over the world, etc. But I am thrilled. I also, produced Twilight of the Gods with Zack Snyder for Netflix most recently, and adult animated Norse mythology series. But I am extremely excited about my new role, working alongside Andrew and this incredible team on taking Claynosaurz to the next level. Claynosaurz is the brand that the company started with, and incredibly excited about the opportunity and disruption and
I'll be a little briefer on my background. I have not done as many interesting things as Sherry has in the entertainment space, but I spent over a decade in finance and investments, working at various hedge funds, private equity funds, private credit funds. That culminated in more of my own entrepreneurial route with a couple of partners that started our own fund, and raised a substantial amount of capital, and did that for 4 to 5 years between 2017 and 2021, 22. And then around that time, I left there, and I ended up joining the guys at Claynosaurz at the time, and now we've grown into this bigger studio that we're calling HeeBoo. Um, and I joined those guys because I think, well, one, all of them are good old friends of mine, but it also was a huge career pivot because it seemed to me like there was a really great opportunity in a really, really, quickly changing landscape in the entertainment space. And having spent, over a decade in investments looking for places where opportunity may lie, it looked to my eye like there was an incredible opportunity in this very, very quickly changing landscape. And there was a very, very incredible team that had come together to build Claynosaurz with, great backgrounds on the creative side. So I jumped in with them in 2022, end of 2022, and have been with them for the last, since then, the last three a bit.
Wow, that's crazy. You both have like very vast journeys in the entertainment industry, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes in that time period too, as well.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been in the
I had one quick question. Now, what is some of the vision behind HeeBoo, the creative vision when you kind of came up with the concept?
I can, yeah, I can give some of that. I will rightfully admit that I'm not the creative genius behind Claynosaurz and that side of things, but I'll tell you that many of the trends that Sherry just spoke to came to light as we were building Claynosaurz. And because as a startup in a very difficult and competitive space, you have to get scrappy, original, try and discover these new distribution channels, see where things may or may not work. We had unveiled an immense amount of sort of success, I guess, on social media, on these new channels, even things like this, like podcasting, and these more approachable distribution channels vis-a-vis or relative to going on streaming with the big streamers, or or being a theatrical release or a big show that would go on linear TV. So we discovered that there was a really interesting path with Cleanosaurs, and pretty quickly asked ourselves, well, we know that the market has this issue. And we also know that we have found a way to success inside of this ever-changing market. And the question is it scalable? Can we actually scale this? Or maybe this is just a flash in the pan, magic moment. Cleanosaurs is great, but perhaps it's not a scalable thing. And actually that question is something that we sort of asked ourselves pretty early on, I would say early in 23, and kind of keeping that kernel in our head and watering that over time. Eventually, the idea behind HeeBoo and what it could do and how we could actually serve the sector wide, changing landscape emerged. And I would say we probably had a few, like lightning bolt moments or moments that were like, oh yes, this is a good moment forward throughout 24, and then really in the middle of 25, and then by some fluke of somewhere above, Sherry found her way to us around the same time, and it was a really great moment where you're sort of like, oh yeah, right place, right time, where we're hitting all the right notes, and then we found this amazing quality leader in the space who understands what we're saying, and also is here at the right exact time to sort of deploy and execute this strategy.
And now, how is HeeBoo redefining how franchises are built? What's some of the fundamental differences as far as traditional Hollywood models?
So, we talked a little bit earlier about how Hollywood is shifting. And typically and always and still, Hollywood invests in content first, a lot of money in content and building it, and then tries to find the fans to go with it. That's been the Hollywood model. So, HeeBoo, by contrast, actually connects creators with fans and builds the fandom, builds the engagement, builds the funding through the fans before it even goes out to make the content. So that's a major shift in how we're answering the pains that Hollywood creates. We also talked about earlier about how there are obviously declining cable networks. There are fewer streamers than there were networks. There are, and while there are opportunities to quote unquote launch it on your own on YouTube, we know that that's really difficult to do. It's very noisy. There's a lot of people who don't quite understand the strategy, just throw stuff up there. But there's so much noise that it is difficult to kind of find your way by just launching it with no other strategy. But in terms of creators being able to go out there and pitch their original content, there are much fewer opportunities and outlets for them to pitch to. And B, Hollywood is currently not investing in original IP. So there really isn't anywhere for a creator in my world, especially like in animation. We used to be able to go to Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and et cetera, and be able to pitch to 5, 6, 7, 8 buyers and hopefully get your show made. Well, there's 3, 4 now that are actively doing anything in kids animation, and none of them are picking up anything original. HeeBoo does answer that in the sense that we're not looking for a derivative. We're not looking for established IPs, sequels, based on a book, based on this or that. We're looking for those original IPs, those strong creators with a strong voice and passion to really get their content made. And that's where HeeBoo focuses, and that's kind of how um, we're fundamentally shifting opportunities, we could talk about how and what, but that's kind of.
Yeah, that you make a good point because there is in general, I think, there's a lot of noise and there's a lot of, you have influencers and all these different people that are doing stuff on YouTube to find a voice in all of that. Even within news, it's kind of merging together all these different entertainment media industries, which is scary to me because I come from a news background. So I'm a little nervous about news and entertain, blending a little too much because you're supposed to be, you know what I mean? You want a definition between that, but that's a good point. Now, how are your fans, not just consumers, with HeeBoo in the HeeBoo model, but they're collaborators within this process?
So creators benefit from the instantaneous feedback and the direct relationship that they forge with their fans on HeeBoo, because fans not only engage with the content and create signals of demand for the right IPs to move forward, but they also invest in the content. And so they're much more engaged fans. They're super fans because they're invested in the success of the creative IP. Creators benefit because they're garnering the fandom and the capital to be able to move their projects forward. And that relationship is direct. There's no gatekeepers. There's no outlets that are in the way. There's no relying on streamer non-existent marketing to get your new show out there and be seen by the right audience. It's up to you. If you develop that relationship, if you build out in the open and you're constantly communicating and relating to your fans, and they're getting more and more of a buy-in as they see you progress and as they go through the journey with you, by the time you're ready to go make it, you not only have the funding, but you have the fandom, you have the ability to make this really super successful. And so that's where that relationship is very different, and fans get to be involved in the content. They get to invest in the content. They get to they get rewards just for engagement, and they get a piece of the success of the IP, which is unique. They're not just getting, oh, here's a t-shirt, you invested in my project, but they get actual stake in the project.
In the future of it. And I know now there's tokenized ownership is still new to many people. So how does this empower the creators? Like, what are some of the ways that you're using that and the fans?
So actually, I think well, tokenized ownership. I think some people, people often get hung up on this word tokenized. I would say effectively it's ownership, right? And I think that's the important part. The tokenization bit is what allows us to do it in a more approachable and accessible way and safer way, frankly, for retail investors, or in this case, for fans and stuff like that, right? So, and ownership empowers the creator immensely because, sort of as Sherry just described, right now, if you're a creator with a wonderful idea, what's your path to putting that idea out there? You can try and rummage around on YouTube and socials. And that is and I think, Melissa, you just sort of mentioned, it's like, it's not, news and content, like it's not really the right environment. And the stuff that succeeds on social media is effectively whatever is gaming that algorithm, right? It's not really the right avenue for telling stories the way they should be told. And so creators that know how to game the algorithm succeed, but great storytellers don't. So what you really want to do is empower the creator to go out and find their fans and find people who are ready to properly interpret and spend the time with the property or the story, and do that in such a way that's safe for everybody. And so right now, if you're a creator, you could go on the socials, or maybe you could try and pitch a big streamer or a studio. Good luck getting a meeting. Good luck getting them to do anything. They're not financing very much. That's not really an approachable medium for very many people. And so the ownership structure means that you now have the tools and the fans behind you who are prepared to actually properly intake the story you're trying to tell. And if it's good, perpetuate it. Like, go out and tell people about it, because the advent of ownership creates a real fan versus a vote versus a bide view or this kind of social media engagement. People are excited by it if they like it. And this flywheel is that success because, as Sherry put, the fans themselves don't just get reward for the investment they make. They also get reward for being fans, right? Like, you've contributed as a fan. That's very, very helpful as well. And again, all of this is possible when you're doing it in a tokenized manner. And then from a creator perspective, you're getting fans, you're getting a meritocratic opportunity. And if it's successful, you haven't given away everything to a studio, right? You've retained that ownership and you're able to see it, not just from an economic perspective, but also from an artistic perspective, where you can continue to contribute to that, idea, that story that is your own over time. And I think that's, we say it's important for creative empowerment, creative entrepreneurship, and giving those folks the right shot at telling their stories.
That's a good
They get to
point.
control their own destiny. I was going to just add to that. They get to control their own destiny and not the destiny of that IP. They're not selling it out to a network. They actually get to go through the whole journey, including producing it, owning it, exploiting it, deciding what else do they want to do with it. It's all in there. That's unusual if you're to sell it to a network.
Right, you lose that control, and I was gonna say that kinda like, now how do you balance creative integrity with the audience input? Because that's like one of you're saying, at least they have creative control and are able to kinda guide where it's going. How do you balance that with the audience input?
So fans on HeeBoo don't dictate to the creators where they should take the IP. They simply engage with things they're interested in, and they engage by watching, by sharing, by investing, etc. So that type of engagement is what signals demand and what signals, okay, this is a worthy IP that should be invested in, goes forward, etc. um and creators can take the feedback as they see the comments, as they see their engagement, what's being watched, what's not, what are the fans responding to, and they can take that into consideration as they continue to build in the open. But that it does not mean that the fans tell them what to do. Creators still have the strong voice and the creative ownership of their product, and so they continue to um, to do what they do best, but they get the benefit of the feedback instantaneously by developing that great relationship with their fans.
That makes a lot of sense because 'cause you're being able to say, "Okay, that worked. People really liked that particular thing," and grow that area or expand on that. That would definitely give you, like, an advantage too when you're a creator. And now with content launching across YouTube, I think we kinda talked about this too, and TikTok and different platforms, how are these kind of franchises, how are they, like, gonna succeed now? Like, what are some of the keys that you think are gonna differentiate it between these things like YouTube? We kinda touched upon it, but what are some of the things in entertainment in general are gonna really be, like, helpful moving forward?
Well, I think, Andrew touched on it earlier with, there are different platforms. People launch different types of content on those platforms. I think that the any product that launches on HeeBoo has to also exist on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on everywhere that your fans are, and that's the reality of today. Is any content, any property, any IP that goes out there needs to live on all those platforms. What's nice about those platforms is you actually create the expectations are different. You create different types of content for each of those, and that creates, I think, depth and breadth to your brand, to your IP, so that it can live and communicate with audiences in the way that they like to be communicated with on that specific platform. So it gives us a better evolution of every IP in terms of the types of content. And it also, the other thing it does is it makes us be able to be more creative as creators and as producers of in how are we going to, what's the strategy for this particular IP? Well, this one really lends itself to this. Let's leverage that. And this one's great with digital collectibles. This is great with TikTok, shorts. This is a great merchandising driven thing. How do we leverage that? How do we evolve the brand in a way that speaks to that audience? So I think that multiple platforms just means more creative, more breadth, more opportunities to reach and engage your audience.
One of the things we've learned on Klano, and much to what Sherry is describing, is each of these platforms has different utility, if you will. And I think when it comes to the current audience, kids and younger viewers, and even older viewers, frankly, attention spans are so low that you need to definitely create the sense of discovery. And asking someone to click on something on a streaming platform that's 2 hours long, even an hour and a half, even 30 minutes, it's actually a big request, right? Because there's so many options. Am I going to commit myself to this? I don't know this thing. But when you discover something on socials, the short form vertical video, you start to go from discovery to familiarity. And then that familiarity drives you to actually say, you know what, I will commit myself to checking this out because I recognize this. I know this. I've seen this brand other places. And I think where, Sherry put it earlier, you don't have a marketing budget if you're on streamers, but everybody's on streamers. You can't tell the audience they're wrong. We like streaming. It's at home. It's great. No problem. but you need to adapt to how you market. And spending all of the money on a big production and then asking the viewer to click on something they're unfamiliar with is really tough. So what you see is iterative content, obviously, and what you also see is a lot of, the same sort of recognizable actors, actresses, and so on showing up in different original content, because that's how else would you sell it, or big directors, right? But that's not an open space to operate in for a new creator with a great idea, a new animation property where it's, you're not seeing a familiar face. Uh, so I think, these are actually distribution tools that are really useful for discovery, familiarity, and that drives your success into longer form content where you can really tell the story that you want to tell.
That makes sense. And now, 5 years from now, how do you hope audiences will describe HeeBoo? Like, what do you want this to kind of grow into and morph into in the future?
Well, we hope we are going to be the destination where all creators want to take their IP. I think from a fan point of view, from a just a market point of view, I hope that our content reads as more authentic. It isn't shaped by a studio executive. It isn't adapted to what's going to sell best. It's truly a creator and realizing their vision and their passion with the fans coming along on the journey. So there's the authenticity aspect to it. And I think there's just, from a fan point of view, there's more ownership and pride in the content that they helped bring along, that they invested in, that they were on the journey from the beginning. And so I think that, our content is going to resonate in that way, that it's authentic. It's something that I believe in, that I've invested in, that I want to see succeed. And I hope that that's what will kind of resonate and come out of it.
Yeah, if I can add, I think when you look at current platforms, you might say there's a ton of them that do crowdfunding for entertainment and for other properties. And all of these platforms are really, they're either very, very like investor centric or specifically creator centric, and none of them address the fan. And I think ultimately the great irony is that what creators want are fans, and what fans want is to be heard by creators. So I think in the end, the platform is fan facing, and it serves both parties very, very well. And there is no such product that is currently existing in that landscape. And I think it's you and I now, Sherry.
Yeah, I think we lost her.
I finished the answer to that because I was like, I know it's recording, so maybe
Like,
it's
right,
still
right. No, that was
useful.
the thing to do.
That's a really hard stop. Just
Melissa,
out of here.
are you still there?
No, I can see she's not here. It
I
says
think
she's
we
out.
lost her. I thought, well, maybe she went off camera, but all right.
But
Well,
we'll
I
see.
think we
We'll give
can
it a
wrap
minute.
it
I'm
up.
sure she'll come back. Maybe her computer just,
Yeah,
ripped it. I think we're probably near the end anyway. Maybe that is how
yeah.
they stop. They're just like, peace. Like,
You're done. You're done, but oh, okay.
Pros. Okay.
it's all good. Yeah. So I think just to add to what we're expecting from the platform in 5 years from now is, when you see current platforms, they're very creator centric, they're very investor centric, and very few fans actually, or very few platforms actually cater to the fan and recognize that, what creators want are fans. Like what is very powerful for a creator is fans. They don't want a consumer, they don't want a buyer, they want a fan. They want someone who really understands and is hearing the story. And from that, commercial success will come. But there's no platform that actually caters to the fans. It's either we're looking for money to make a cool property, and maybe you are a fan and you like it, but there's no place to be a fan after that. You just kind of wait and see, and hopefully you get a return on your money. And so in our case, we think it's what is really empowering for the creators is delivering the resource that is hardest to acquire, which is fans. Because on social media, you're not getting fans, right? You're getting views, you're getting engagement, but it's really not engaged people. You're getting all these metrics that don't really lead to anything. And on HeeBoo, we want to deliver a fan who's bought in, but not just monetarily, but is rewarded for their contributions as a fan, a creator who gets the feedback from them, but not just feedback, but fans, they're the ones who perpetuate the brand. They're the ones who bring it to life. Most of us have so many options on what we get to watch every day, whether it's on streaming or YouTube or socials or podcasts, or it's on and on and on. So your first tier of the things you actually go out and click and spend time on are the things that people tell you about, right? It's not like the bus
Or
ad
no,
or
yeah,
the clip out before the advertisement before a video or in a magazine for whoever still reads magazines. Maybe I'm in a camp of my own, but it's really the word of mouth that matters. So creating the fan is the most important thing. So the platform should serve creators, but it should serve fans as well. And I think that's where the magic comes from, is that it's bringing fans together around stories, entertainment that they actually enjoy. And I think also in a day and age when a lot of us are so plugged in and scattered across all the social media stuff that does exist, you do want human connection. You want people around you to coerce or cohesively talk about the same story, right? And I think that's an important part, not just for HeeBoo, but for us as humans to really have a place where stories are told, and for us to find our tribe, if you will, and find the people that enjoy those stories to get around. And that's what creators want too, I think. And the byproduct of that is I think is also commercial success. But the he who searches just for the money never finds it, but he who enjoys the journey does, right? So I think this is an important principle for the platform as well.
It's definitely exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, if people want more information, I guess even fans or the creative people out there, where would be the best way to find it?
You can definitely go on HeeBoo.com. So HeeBoo is HeeBoo.com, and sign up for you put your email there, and you'll get updates. We also have an X account, HeeBoo Official. So at HeeBoo Official, which will be 3 O's in a row. At HeeBoo Official. And usually we have a lot of the announcements coming through that channel as well. And then alongside, our original, brand is Claynosaurs. So that's also nice to check out because we do a lot of things for that one. That's sort of our inaugural brand. That's our Toy Story to Pixar, if you will. So,
yeah.
at
We also have,
Claynosaurs.
if you want to get in touch for any reason, we have hello at
Yeah, hello at HeeBoo.com, I guess, to get in touch. And then also for any creatives who want to push things through and things like that, or BD, that kind of stuff as well. Yeah,
Run some ideas past you. Can people get a hold if they want
absolutely.
to? Okay, sounds
Absolutely. I
good.
mean, the whole purpose is to open up, this avenue of
right.
creativity more widely. And the platform will be launching, we hope, later this year, and eventually opening up to a wider audience beyond that. But we're all we're all open to talking to great creators as soon as we can, and sort of offering the opportunities that we can so far, and hopefully, and not hope, we will make that widely available in the future as well.
Sounds good. Well, I really appreciate you both joining us today. It's been great, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. And because I like the idea. I mean, I miss like more creative options out there. I feel like even TV, it's like a replay of like a
Yeah,
redo of another old movie, and I'm just like, can we see
Yep.
something like a little bit new? I want to
I
see.
yeah,
exactly.
true.
But yeah, thank
Yeah,
you so much. And hopefully maybe have you again down the road on to talk about the success and the things that are going on in the different shows and stuff.
Sounds great.
absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks
Take
for having
Wonderful.
care.
us, Melissa.
Bye bye.
So just stay on. Thank you for joining the Business Roundup, where we always try to bring you interviews with some of the leading people in business, whether it be technology, finance, or energy. I hope you tune in. I hope you subscribe and listen, and we'll give you updates for new interviews that are coming up. Until next time, I'm Melissa Bill.